Discord just updated their terms of service and made it so that distributing macros is a bannable offense. And with the way it happened, it's possible the Anime Vanguards Discord was involved in it. Now, before I get into any of that speculation, let me tell you the facts as they are right now. So there's been a Discord article circulating around, and it's referred to as developing server rules. It's a big topic of discussion right now because if you skim this article, you will find that it mentions auto and macro programs briefly. It says that distributing auto, macro, or cheat utility programs, as well as providing hacked, modded game software through Discord is prohibited. Now on paper, this would mean if you sold macros, you would get your server deleted and your account would be suspended. But this is a very, very crude simplification of the actual rules held by Discord. There's a relevant case with this actually, with a particular Discord user who you might be familiar with named Informal, a macro developer who is very public about the distribution of his macro and Anime Vanguards. And when Discord caught wind of this, his server was deleted and his main account was suspended for 2 years on grounds of malicious intent. There were some rumors about a software actually being malicious software, and that was really, the reason for his suspension. He already confirmed that the Anime Vanguards team had nothing to do with it, and it was likely a group of people mass reporting him off a rumor or just a troll. The Discord moderators likely saw files being directly shared from person to person from that Discord and went with the malware allegations and took action on it. Now, I wanted some more clarification on how all of this works. I scanned the actual Discord terms of service and the community guidelines that the article is based off of. Using the find command, I searched for the words macro, auto, and cheat, the same words Discord used in the developing server rules article, and I came up empty-handed. It's not mentioned in the Discord TOS, so because the article was on both TOS and guidelines, my next obvious step was to scan the community guidelines. So I searched for the word macro, nothing. Then auto, nothing. And then when I searched for the word cheat, I found something. Rule 24 of the community guidelines states, do not share content that violates anyone's intellectual property or other rights. This includes sharing or selling game cheats or hacks. Alongside this, they linked policies on how the game cheats and hacks infringe on the copyright of games, and because of that reason, they cannot be distributed. The reasoning behind this is that game cheats for big AAA games will oftentimes use the name, logo, and other trademark assets of the respective game is derived from to be sold and distributed, which qualifies as trademark infringement and a violation of the game's copyright. While this is very apparent in AAA games, it gets pretty dicey for how this functions on a Roblox game. And Rule 20 of the community guidelines kind of gets into this gray area as well, where it also prohibits the distribution of malicious software, and as long as your macro doesn't do that, you bypass this rule entirely. That is all that is mentioned throughout Discord on the topic of macros. Now, looking at the Anime Vanguard's Discord, if you're attempting to find their stance on macros, you're going to be very confused. One developer will say one thing, and another dev will say the opposite. The lack of communication and differing of opinions between developers has led to a very inconsistent idea of what they want. For example, here's a dev named Bucket. He said, for those who keep saying that we said macros are allowed, we do not promote or endorse any macros because they are technically against Discord TOS. And then we turn around and we see Pysef say, friendly reminder, macros such as Tiny Task are allowed. And what they say in these messages that doesn't conflict is the mentioning of macros that inject code into the game, like Synapse, like borderline hacking and scripts of that nature, right? But if we're looking at literal macros that just play the game for you, one dev will say it's allowed, while the other will say it's not. And this pretty much just came down to Pysef, the same person saying macros allowed, saying that detecting and banning macros is completely impossible because macros would just evolve to bypass any sort of captcha mechanic, and that the dev team would rather put their focus into making the game more fun and a game that you won't have to physically macro to enjoy and make good progression in. And honestly, I really love this message because you can tell Pysef loves what he does and wants people to enjoy the game, while in the same breath saying you're allowed to macro, which is cool. Now here's where the speculation comes in. 10 days before all of this controversy sparked, Discord raised the Discord member count from 750,000 to 1 million members. And this is something you can only do through a server member cap increase request submitted through Discord support. Now, you could speculate that in this same request to increase their player count, they explain their macroing issue and how that might have swayed this change of heart from Discord. However, we know this isn't true. If you look at the server guidelines article, if you go a paragraph underneath this, we see information regarding Discord Partnership's Code of Conduct. Now, the problem with this is that Discord Partnership is a program that was discontinued October 4th, 2023, over a year ago. So this article is that old. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hold truth towards the rules of Discord today, but it definitely implies Anime Vanguard had nothing to do with this change whatsoever. Now, this is where things get very interesting. Using community guidelines as a reference to macros, as long as your macro isn't malicious to the people downloading it, like it was allegedly for Informal's macro, and as long as it doesn't infringe on the copyright of your game, then macros shouldn't be prohibited by the rules of Discord. Now comes the question, right? Is making a macro for Anime Vanguards infringing on the copyright of the game? Technically, because Roblox is an engine for creating games, if you're making your own original work and art for your game, as long as it doesn't contain any of Roblox's original assets, you can put a copyright on what you made and protect it under a trademark for the sake of owning it. You could even take your own Roblox game and port it directly into Unity and make it separate from the Roblox platform, as long as it doesn't contain any of those Roblox assets. So that being said, is it possible for Anime Vanguards to put a copyright on their game and protect it from macros that way? But when you get into this, you run into an entirely other issue.
You know who else is committing copyright infringement?
The game is entirely built off of characters and ideas stemmed off of all sorts of anime, and all it would take is a single wave of Crunchyroll's finger and the game would get taken down just like Anime Adventures was. So when your game is built off of infringing on the copyright of other games, can you really turn around and put a copyright on original characters like Roku and Naruto or fucking Luffy? So with the game itself being at risk of being removed for infringing on other people's copyright, they don't exactly have a good case for copyrighting their original expression for the sake of protecting their game from macros. So my resolution to all of this is that no, Anime Vanguard did not get the Discord TOS changed and ruin macros for everyone. That is not the case. And at the end of the day, macros are a good thing. When a person plays a game and they dislike the progression and they use a macro to cut past all the grind and enjoy the game, it's good for the player, and all that time some macroing benefits the creator of the game. It's a mutual benefit. And given the fact that copyright infringement can't really be declared for Anime Vanguard, as long as macros aren't malicious, they are allowed to be distributed. And even if certain devs say that macros shouldn't be distributed, and that people shouldn't advertise them, and they don't recommend to use them, you still have other devs like Picef saying they're okay to use. So once again, before I end the video, I'd like to highlight, with all of this going on in the game right now, it's all set in a very good direction, where the gameplay is going to be developed to be more fun, and progression won't be nearly as grueling. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.